Hi there, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we're going to be doing a little comparison of the Famous Grouse 16 years with its pretty standard blend, the Famous Grouse. On the table today we've got two bottles of the original Famous Grouse, and that's the one we're comparing with today, and this one, unsealed, I do like to show this off, is the Famous Vincent, my full name, and this was given to me when I got married. So in the glasses today, we've got this side over here, which is the standard Famous Grouse. Then over here, we've got the 16. I actually got the 16 as a little wee sample as part of a Dram Team box that came through on my monthly subscription. We did it part of a tasting at the time, but I kept some back to do this review and do a little comparison, although it's probably not really that fair. The actual standard Famous Grouse itself sells for about £15 to £20 in the UK, depending on whether the deals are on or whatever. It's cheap stuff, it's easy to get. The 16, a little bit harder to get, but it sells at about 60 odd pounds. It's kind of a special bottling for the 16 year. It's made by the Edrington Group, and it's encompassing stuff like Highland Park and the Macallan, that sort of spirits are going to be going into it. It's alleged that the 16 has 8 different whiskies inside it, and those are then married together and matured for a little bit longer, some in ex-sherry casks and some in ex-bourbon casks put together, and this is the result. So let's get into the drams and see what the differences are, and fundamentally, is it worth that massive extra price difference? So let's go in for the standard one first and see where we go from there. I actually did a comparison of several bog standard blends on the channel just before Christmas just gone. If you click up here, you can go check that one out. If I remember, this one didn't rate that well, reasonably well, but for me, it's a 40%er, same as the 16 years, but it's so alcohol-y, ethanol alcohol-y. Oh, lots of fumes. It's not like when you get a cask strength and you get that extra alcohol flavours. This is like rough alcohol, but there's some oak in there as well, musty oak. I'll tell you what, let's have a nose of the 16 first before we get onto the palate and see where we get to. Not too bothered about the colour and things like that, because it's the same stuff, isn't it? And straight away, it's a lot more mellow. There's none of that kind of alcoholic, ethanol-y vapours. None of that mustiness. You can pick out some fruits, like there's dark fruits, cherries and things like that. And then there's kind of apples and pears and things. Apples and pears and things. Right, let's go on to the palate. As you can see from this bottle, I don't tend to drink this much, so it's an interesting one to try the differences, but it stays in the cabinet for a while, I think. It's got some initial spice to it, but for me, I find it quite bitter and sour. Don't get me wrong, it's drinkable for sure, but enjoyable, not so sure, not so sure. Not anymore. It's one of the whiskies that I kind of trained myself on, and I moved on from it fairly quickly and didn't really look back. So it was interesting for me to try this again when I did my blended review, but it's not something I'll use it as a kind of benchmarker sometimes, but not very often, I have to admit. So to the 16, let's try the palate. It's got that kind of same spiciness, but it lingers a bit longer. But you're able to pick out things like cinnamon, things like that. More of that oaky flavours there as well. And the finish is a bit longer as well. Honestly, for me, I don't think the price difference is worth it. That said, I'm not saying that I would rather have sort of like 4 bottles of this in comparison to one of, not that, but in comparison to one of the 16. I would rather have neither, to be honest. And it's not very often I would say this, but I don't recommend either of them. It's great for starting out, but £60 for a 16-year-old, a little bit pricey for me, and it's certainly not something that I would buy with my own money. There you go, thanks for watching this little comparison of the Famous Grouse and the Famous Grouse 16-year-old. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and of course check out more videos just like this. Thank you.